My husband's a CEO, and we live in a completely different world from someone like you who dropped out of high school. My wife, Nancy, a former classmate, made fun of me during our high school reunion. She was stunning, easily attracted to men, and free to do as she liked. A bright young man's heart was destroyed because of her. I informed her, "He's getting fired this month, so good luck," with a great sense of rage. I'm not at all comfortable with Nancy being off the hook, even though she was agitated. Nancy still has a large bill to pay. I have to prove to her that all of the things she is boasting about are merely appearances. Brian Anderson, I'm 40 years old. My employer, Asset Consortium, is a sizable asset management firm. This multinational corporation oversees the assets of its clients from a wide angle. I've been given the opportunity to lead several large initiatives, which I did with success. I was more of a can't-do type when I was younger, even though I currently work for a multinational corporation. In addition to having terrible grades, I struggled at sports. Not only that, but I wasn't that attractive either. A global firm would have been an unattainable goal. Meeting my mentor, Mr. John Williams, in middle school marked a turning point in my life. The grown-ups around me told me I couldn't succeed, but only Mr. Williams gave me encouragement and had faith in my abilities. I am the person I am now because of him. Mr. Williams is currently receiving recognition as a distinguished citizen in recognition of his long-standing contributions to education. We are planning a reunion at our middle school to commemorate this. I want to proudly introduce him to the person I am today when we cross paths again. I'm excited about it. However, I had one major assignment to complete before the reunion, firing Joseph Taylor, the young man I had coached and had great expectations for. I stood in front of Joseph one day in a calm conference room. "Joseph Taylor, I'm asking you to step down as CEO of Riser," I responded. Joseph answered in a quiet tone. My heart broke for me. Riser, a mid-sized electronics firm with remarkable yearly revenue of $180 million, is always keen to explore new technology. I find the progress made to be rather impressive. Joseph Taylor, the 38-year-old guy in front of me, was the driving force behind the remarkable growth. Because of his honesty and superior technological skills, he was selected as CEO. He was elevated to CEO status by me. I was optimistic that he would improve the company because of his education, politeness toward employees, enthusiasm for production, bright grin, and unwavering resolve. "I'm sorry I couldn't meet your expectations, Michael Anderson," Joseph replied. "The general meeting this month will discuss and decide whether to remove you from your position. Then you will no longer serve as CEO." What led to this situation? I forced the chilly announcement out while biting down hard on my nerves. I had to do that because I was the largest shareholder. I work at Asset Consortium, where we do a variety of interesting jobs. Purchasing stock in companies that show promise and influencing their management directly is one of them. I purchased Riser shares in my capacity as Asset Consortium's representative. I rose to the position of big stockholder. I provided networking and financial support in exchange for management control over Riser. Everything went well for a while. Joseph went above and beyond my expectations by bringing creative concepts to Riser's management. One by one, he created new items. Riser gained from this, and Asset Consortium made large gains as well. I reasoned that if I let Joseph handle it, everything will work out. He had far greater ability than I had. Listen to me, Joseph, as a friend, not as Michael Anderson from Asset Consortium. What transpired with you during the last year? Yes, until about a year ago, when Joseph's steering abruptly went awry. Everything appeared to be going according to plan. The laid-back work atmosphere turned more formal. With subcontractors with whom we had an excellent rapport, we suddenly severed our links. Even in product development, which had previously been our forte, we lagged behind. The performance trend that had been rising abruptly stopped. The CEO of Asset Consortium was found to be at fault by higher management. As the person in charge, they gave me the order to restructure the management group. Naturally, I objected, but I was unable to persuade higher management since I did not have a complete understanding of the circumstances. The choice to fire him resulted from this. "I've watched your work closely, I begged Joseph. You're not the kind to quit your work, as far as I'm aware. You could have spoken with me if you were having trouble. Why did you not do that? That was where I ended my speech. It appeared from Joseph's look that his soul had departed his body. Having seen a lot of executives, I understood what this meant. This was the face of a person whose soul was crushed. It's likely that he knew in his mind that this could not continue, but his body and mind were not cooperating. I thought it would be worse to press him for details now. I stepped up, softening my demeanor, and said, "Wait here for a moment." I got a steaming coffee from the outdoor vending machine. Joseph was still seated in the conference room, staring down, so I went back to set the coffee in front of him. "Today, Joseph, we're done talking about work. Tell me a joke that will make me smile." "What?" "I'm hankering after that conversation. You have the entire day until dusk. Make me laugh as hard as you can, please." From an objective perspective, it may seem silly and incoherent to tell Joseph, who was already weak, to freely express his feelings, but it would probably simply cause him to become more defensive. It would be preferable if I guided the talk for him. Given Joseph's strong sense of accountability, he would probably discuss his flaws if the narrative made people shake their heads. "I'm sure you're disappointed in how useless I am," is what it would sound like. My hunch proved to be accurate. Joseph revealed something startling. "Actually, I've been toyed with. By my wife." "What? Isn't that embarrassing? You're probably disappointed with me." Then slowly, Joseph began to speak. He had been mistreated by the woman he married 2 years prior. It was normal to verbally abuse him and ignore him at home. She would go out and party with other men virtually every day, even in Joseph's presence. She eventually began to doubt his managerial abilities and started to meddle whenever she wished. I became really angry as I listened. Joseph's wife had completely destroyed his confidence and sense of self-worth during the previous year. Once bright and intelligent, Joseph had gotten so mired in his predicament that he was unable to discover a way out. The Joseph I knew in the past would have calmly chosen divorce, but he was too cornered at this point to even entertain the possibility. He could not possibly do his duties as CEO in this state. I started talking when the coffee was cold to the touch. "You need a vacation right now, Joseph. Reward yourself for all your hard work with a solo getaway or a day of rest in your hometown. Believe me, everything will be okay. Yeah, I think I do need to forget everything and take a rest. By the way, Joseph, what is the name of your wife? And her previous name?" "Nancy is her name. Her maiden name is Mo," Joseph answered, appearing perplexed and possibly a little relieved after speaking. I merely wanted to know, shaking my head. I went Joseph to a classic inn, not his house, as that was our meeting spot. I left Joseph there after paying for nearly a month in advance out of my own wallet. I gave the keeper a thorough rundown of the circumstances before heading out. I mumbled sourly in my car on the way home. Mo, Nancy Mo. It amazes me that she's stirring up problems once more. I recalled the past. Nancy Mo, sometimes known as Nancy Taylor, was a middle school classmate. Among the boys she had grown fond of was me. Nancy believed that adoring someone equated to playing with them like a toy. Even though it was just for 3 years, I still find it difficult to recall the suffering she caused me. Nancy was sly as well as a spotlight seeker. She never got her hands dirty. She always had her entourage take care of the grunt work for her, and she would gladly accept credit for the accomplishments of others. I can still clearly recall being a victim of her machinations, along with a few other students. Nancy's extraordinary beauty was yet another distinguishing feature. She had a lot of attractive boys to play with during our school years. The strong and athletic ones she utilized as bodyguards or servants, while she kept the attractive ones like trophies. She resembled a queen from a historical account. Nancy's slyness is evident in the way she conducts herself when meeting new individuals. A person is simpler to trick, male or female, the more sincere they are. In light of Joseph's situation, he is a handsome, charismatic man who is truthful, serious, and compassionate toward others. In addition, he was wealthy and gifted when he was appointed CEO. Joseph once told me he was too busy dating during his school years. She presumably targeted him for that reason. For a long, neither the RER staff nor I were aware that Joseph had tied the knot. Neither the wedding nor the celebration were invited to us. Rejecting it at the time, Joseph said, "I didn't want to trouble everyone too much." However, it appears that she threw a lavish celebration, to which she invited none but her friends and acquaintances. That is, Joseph's family was left out entirely. Afterwards, she began to exert influence over Joseph. God damn it. I thought to myself, tightening my fist in irritation, she ruined a promising man like Joseph so easily. My phone started ringing at that very time with a message. The message was from Mr. Williams, which surprised me. "I look forward to seeing you at the upcoming reunion," it said. This should have been a pleasant surprise, but I couldn't really feel pleased about it. I finally answered, "Sir, I actually need to talk to you about," after giving it some serious thought. The day of the reunion finally arrived, 2 weeks later. I had put off finishing my work in order to be ready for this day, but it was no simple chore to fire the CEO of a company that brought in $180 million in revenue annually. I arrived at the venue 30 minutes late because I was so overwhelmed with paperwork at the last minute. I had dressed hurriedly, but I looked terrible, with my suit crumpled, my hair unkempt, and my beard growing out. To be honest, it was a terrible look for a professional going to a formal function. All of my old classmates, though, were really friendly. "It's been a while, Michael. Use this to wipe your face. You can lie on that couch over there if you're feeling under the weather. I prepared some food for you on this dish, Michael. I know everyone else is drinking, but perhaps you would just want some hot tea right now." "Thank you," I replied, a little perplexed. One of my former students then clarified, saying, "Mr. Williams actually gave us a call. He urged us to watch out for you, saying you were going through a difficult moment." "What did Mr. Williams do?" "I understand. I apologize for the inconvenience. What topic are you discussing? You know we respect you." A former classmate gave me a shoulder pat. "As you are aware, our school was integrated from middle school to high school and was connected to a university. Although getting into college wasn't difficult, you decided to enter the workforce right out of middle school. You took that course on your own initiative. It wasn't because you dropped out." Yes, I do recall hearing a lot of remarks from people. It seems like nobody knew quite how to respond. I had no doubt that everyone was surprised. Well, we were at a loss for words, but on the inside, we found it very remarkable. We discussed it prior to your arrival. We were all struck by your audacity. We couldn't have done what you did. We are very proud of you. I never knew my classmates saw me that way. I laughed. I appreciate you expressing that, but I also think all of you are outstanding. When I saw the organizer's participant list, I was taken aback. Not as remarkable as you are. Just hard labor. Each of us in our own manner. Well, one exception applies. My classmate's face went gloomy. Right then, "It's nicer here than I thought it would be. Since a POA set it up, I was concerned it would be subpar." Giggles came from the doorway. My classmates and I stopped talking and looked. "Hey everyone, it's been a while. You wouldn't say you've forgotten about me, would you?" Nancy Taylor was standing there, flamboyantly attired. She strutted around the room, showing off how beautiful she was, hands on her hips. She was not sorry, even though she arrived after me. "I see," she said, grinning victoriously as she examined each individual as though evaluating them. It seems that she thought her outfit made her better than the others. I mumbled, "This isn't a place for you to satisfy your ego," and the girl who had been my classmate next to me worriedly touched my shoulder. Many of our classmates were aware of Nancy's history of hurtful actions toward numerous individuals. The woman in charge of reception approached at that same moment with a troubled expression. "Were you not going to be at the reunion, Miss Moore? There is no listing for your name. You declined every invitation." "What? I'm with you in class. Why am I here, and why is it bad? I've just had a change of heart, and Taylor is the new Moore. Keep things clean, wife of a CEO. Since Mr. Williams is also being celebrated today, it would be problematic if you showed up without warning." "Williams? Oh, that elderly man so tired? He's still alive. What?" Everyone in attendance scowled at her disrespectful comment. I was much more enraged because I owed Mr. Williams a great deal. Even with her spouse in hot water right now, she came here to brag on a whim. She also paid no attention at all to Mr. Williams. How much more humiliation of Mr. Williams and Joseph must she endure before she is satisfied? I approached Nancy. Nancy Taylor, pause. How recognizable. Who are you? You ask me that question now? You truly do treat everyone like trash, except for yourself, I shot back. What? Nancy gave me a bewildered look. Nancy gave a startled hand clap. Now that I think back, I recall. I take it you're Michael Anderson? What a pitiful scene. Even though you were a loser in middle school, you've gotten worse since then. I've been busy with work. Yes, you're the dropout who didn't even manage to finish high school at a school where pupils were able to transfer to colleges with ease. Isn't that a horrible, miserable man, everyone? Nancy looked around, hoping to find someone to side with, but nobody did, unlike at school. The mood became awkward. And you're still the same, I see, I said. You must be really wealthy if you can afford to wear such designer clothing, don't you? Stop being absurd. How come I would have to work? It is really inconvenient. My wonderful hubby buys me anything I ask for. Everything I ask for, he delivers. I'm incredibly liked. He must be an important man. Obviously, Nancy, not aware of my rage, added, Joseph exists just for me, with a condescending expression. My hubby works as a CEO. Compared to you, a useless high school dropout, we live in a whole other universe. How unfortunate. She let out a big laugh. I shut my eyes. So your husband's name is Joseph Taylor, right? You're correct. And could you not speak so lightly of his name? He could catch a hint of inadequacy and poverty. He is RER's brilliant CEO. He's getting fired this month, so good luck with that. Nancy froze, her condescending smirk remaining intact. I went on, you have a significant debt load. Now is the moment to repay them. Nancy appeared flustered for the first time when I gave her a furious glance. However, this did not absolve her of responsibility. Nancy still owed a great deal of money. I had to prove to her that all the things she boasted about were all fronts. What topic are you discussing? That isn't feasible. It appears that you haven't spoken to him or even visited your house in a long. Have you been seeing someone else? What? Once more, how did you find out about that? Nancy realized she had spoken too quickly and covered her mouth. It seems that Joseph's statement that she was always changing males was accurate. That extravagant clothing was most likely not funded by Joseph, but by another man. It was really heinous if she remembered this reunion only to brag about it. Nancy looked just as disgusted as I did. She started tinkering with her phone, swearing under her breath as she attempted to make calls but was unable to connect. Why is he not responding? Joseph dreaded it. Naturally, I thought. I had told Joseph to block her number just in case. Joseph was undoubtedly nearing the end by now, gathering his thoughts and recharging. Nancy finally gave up and scowled at me. She gave me another patronizing smirk for no apparent reason. Well, now that I think about it, it's absurd to become offended over remarks made by someone like you. It's my fault. Are you sure you want to say that, Nancy? What's up, Michael Anderson? Are you assuming I'm kidding? Not at all. Would it be okay if I called everyone a bottom feeder all the time? With a worried brow, I gave Nancy a piece of paper. That was the guest list for this reunion. The present status of each person was recorded, presumably to facilitate discussions. Nancy's face lit up as she finished reading the list. What's this all about? Physicians, attorneys, an astronaut. It seems that some incredibly successful persons from our generation exist. All of them have sought and fulfilled their aspirations. Furthermore, it is clear that you are not on this list because you declined the reunion invites. It's mean. Nancy spat. So tell us, please, although you've been labeling others as bottom feeders, what precisely are you doing right now? Nancy, frustrated, bit her lip. She was stung by the mute looks from our erstwhile classmates. Nancy yelled, unable to take the stillness any longer. You believe saying that will make you feel better? Michael Anderson, what say you? You're simply another high school dropout, while others have graduated. Don't say things like that. You're still saying that now. You are beneath me. My spouse is the CEO of a multi-million-dollar business. Most likely, you're a shut-in without a job. Your attire is evidence that you are a bottom-feeding nobody. Nancy pointed her finger at me and roared. Her little jabs had no effect on me. I at last grasped a crucial concept. Her harsh comments didn't disturb me. What troubled me was that Joseph's bright future had been shattered by someone so unworthy of respect. At that moment, a voice out of nowhere spoke up. "May I say something?" Mr. Williams was the one. It appears that Michael Anderson is the subject of some serious misconceptions. Let me to explain. Mr. Williams approached me with composed authority. Not wanting to bother him, I wanted to stop him, but I was unable to do so. He exuded an unmistakable, powerful presence that made everyone in the vicinity silent. Mr. Williams had always been kind and genuine, but he could also be very strong when things got serious. He achieved this by supporting my choice to work rather than go to college. My hopes would have been lost without Mr. Williams. That he was made an honorary citizen was no accident. Nancy's flimsy arrogance was no match for Mr. Williams's overwhelming presence. She couldn't take her eyes off of him as she stood still, a cold perspiration forming on her cheeks. Mr. Williams stared at her for a few seconds before softening his demeanor. "Let me start by saying that it has been a while, Nancy. I'm happy to see that you're doing well. You were also one of my students once." "Yes," Nancy stumbled to say. "Thank you. However, the earlier exchange I saw was inappropriate. It appears that you have no understanding of Michael Anderson." "What?" Nancy recoiled from Mr. Williams' penetrating stare. "Look at the list and find Michael Anderson's entry," he stated. Following directions, Nancy read with her eyes widening in shock. "AET Consorti. What? That enormous business that runs all those internet ads? And he's been leading projects since he began his career immediately following middle school. With over 25 years, Michael Anderson has worked with the company. He has more experience than any of the other students in this class. Shortly following high school? That isn't feasible. It is not possible. Michael A. Anderson? He's dressed so badly even now. How could he have secured employment at a corporation of that size?" Nancy whispered to herself. Mr. Williams grinned and added, "Well, even I didn't expect Michael to rush here in such a hurry today." He went on, "Nancy, you seem to think Michael left school because he was a dropout, but that's not true," while I scratched my head. "Do you recall the group work sessions we held with company leaders from different industries invited? The previous CEO of AET Consorti was one of your guest presenters." "No way!" Nancy shouted. Indeed, Michael got into a heated argument with the guest professor during the session. Michael wasn't intimidated, in contrast to the majority of your peers. Even though he didn't perform well on tests, he had a wide viewpoint. The instructor thought he had a fascinating talent. I closed my eyes and thought of that moment. Exploring problems without definitive answers was the focus of the group work. My peers couldn't understand it, but I thought it was amazing how numbers could represent reality while also bringing ideas and aspirations to a deeper understanding of the universe. Upon expressing my enjoyment and interest, the CEO, who was also the guest lecturer, extended an invitation for me to join his team. Immediately following middle school, Michael entered that world. It is not a skill that many possess. Everyone here, not just me, acknowledges his magnificence. Well, apparently everyone but you. What? Nancy trailed off. By the way, Michael, you work for different firms and advise them on management and finance? I seem to remember that RISA is one of the businesses that AET Consorti works with, right? What? When Nancy heard RISA's name from this unlikely source, she was taken aback. Mr. Williams indicated with a shift of his gaze that it was my turn to talk. I moved forward to confront Nancy. "Nancy, I told you Joseph Taylor is getting fired this month, so good luck." "No way." "Yes, in my capacity as the AET Consorti agent, I was the one to fire him. I own a sizable portion of RISA. I dismissed Joseph Taylor from his role as CEO by using that authority." "Oh, so that's accurate? Is Joseph no longer serving as CEO?" "He was held accountable for the rapid decline in management, but the reason he was driven to the point where he couldn't manage properly is something else entirely. I said that reason is you, Nancy Taylor, as I got louder. I will not allow you to act as though Joseph was not the object of your selfish and brutal actions. But I am the CEO's wife. You've lost that position and all its power because of your own actions. Nancy rejected my comments with a shake of her head, averting her eyes from everyone as she walked out of the arena. Mr. Williams touched my shoulder with his hand. You did well, Michael. Sir, I'm sorry for burdening you with such a sudden request. There's no need to apologize. Today is your day. I'm happy I could help, and I'm still your teacher. Do you feel a little less heavy now? No, not yet. Mr. Williams seems perplexed by my answer. I looked where Nancy had gone and remarked, there's something we still need to do. A couple of weeks afterward, I paid Joseph a visit. Joseph was standing next to me when I said, Are you ready? Yeah, thanks to you, I've made up my mind. Joseph recovered for about a month, during which time his complexion cleared up considerably. His profile showed the sharpness from his days as a cunning CEO. We heard voices and sounds coming from the house he had not been in for a month, as we stood at the front door. She is present. Come on, let's go. Joseph gave me a nod of approval as I opened the front door. Nancy was searching around as we approached the living room. Her actions seemed strange, akin to a burglar prowling the house. Not right here either. What location is it? Nancy. Who? Michael Anderson and Joseph. Nancy gave out a nervous, suspicious vibe. Shelves and papers were strewn everywhere in the messy living area. I took a business bag that was lying on the table. You're behaving exactly like a robber. Here it is, Joseph. This has to be the evidence. Disregarding Nancy's fear, I gave Joseph the business bag. His face stoic, he looked through the contents. A USB flash drive and other documents came out. Joseph gave a long, heavy sigh. So it was you. Nancy, what are you talking about? Avoid acting foolish. These are significant product-related documents from Riza. I was surprised to see how much courting you have. Nancy was forced to stutter under Joseph's hard look as he continued. I thought it strange that rival businesses were now using Riza's ideas before her. Nancy, you weren't just having fun with other men. You were also giving your lovers access to vital Riza information, didn't you? You must have felt strong and flattered. You believed that you owned my assets and had the right to use Riza's information any way you saw fit, didn't you? Nancy confirmed the reality by biting her lip. Dreadful. You were the one being utilized as an industrial spy, even if you believed that your attractiveness was what was manipulating guys. Such a woman has tricked me for far too long. No, it's not like that. By the way, Joseph, is this what you were searching for? Joseph produced an envelope full of cash, a bank book, and an official seal. Nancy's gaze brightened. Return that. Return it. These were once in my name. So was your dear love rushing you? Did he say to you, we're done if your husband loses it, so bring the cash and paperwork right away? I considered how blatant her actions were when she was cornered. With defiance, Nancy shot out, What do you mean? You had always pardoned me. That's because you mistreated me nonstop. Even if I wasn't thinking straight at the time, I won't fall for it again. I'm here to properly resolve the situation now. Compromise. Joseph reached into his pocket and produced a document. A divorce document was completed, with the exception of the signing portion. We are lucky not to have any kids. For us, this marks the end. Nancy, get me a divorce. No. Separation? Are you joking with me? If we split, how will I live? Perhaps your partner could help you. I'm unable to contact him. Nancy let out a nearly incoherent scream. She was unaware that she had already been cast aside. Her partner was far more astute. A flurry of emotions flashed across Nancy's face, but she quickly contrived a sly smile. Why can't we begin anew? I assume having a stunning wife like me would make you feel important. I'm going to stop playing around. It's too late. I know who you really are. In addition, you ought to be concerned about your appearance by now. My choice is never subject to modification. We are divorcing each other. You're not going to return to this house. What? At last, Nancy felt Joseph's determination and turned away from her. She turned to me for assistance out of desperation. Michael, Are you unable to persuade Joseph? You are in charge of her, correct? That is truly amazing. Nancy, shut up. I apologize, Taylor. Nancy winced at my sharp reproof. Finally, I struck. You have to make amends for all that you have done. Right now, the only thing you can do is avoid getting involved in Joseph's or our lives. Recognize your personal responsibility for this and begin anew at the bottom, where you have always made fun of others. No. Nancy fell to her knees and whispered. The cops I had phoned soon after arrived. Nancy was detained on suspicion of trying to obtain Joseph's private belongings and business records. Following that, Joseph and Nancy got a formal divorce. For the mental anguish she caused him with her adultery and almost a year of violent behavior, he sought hefty alimony. It became a criminal case when her actions as an industrial spy were also investigated and prosecuted. After losing her house and obtaining a criminal record, Nancy allegedly began working at a dubious company. But things weren't going well for her. Her appearance was now her only advantage over younger ladies. I'd heard that her younger coworkers at work often looked down on her. She was doomed to a long, hard existence at the bottom, having lost her fortune, her charm, and even her credibility. I hope she enjoys herself to the fullest. In the meantime, Joseph's previous genius returned following the divorce. Following his dismissal as CEO, he went back to work as a technician. His reputation was gradually developed from the ground up. After falling, some people can get back up, but others never can. It was a striking contrast. I was having supper at a fancy restaurant one day with Mr. Williams. In private, we were rejoicing over the details that the reunion had omitted. Joseph left a message for me. Please pardon me for a moment, sir. Not at all. Please allow me to hear from him as well. I then made the changeover to a video call so that Mr. Williams could join us. I introduced Mr. Williams to Joseph after we talked about the specifics of his employment. It's good to meet you. I'm Joseph Taylor, and I oversee Rista's technology division. Michael Anderson has told me a lot of information about you. I'm grateful. In charge of technology? You were promoted then. Many congratulations. I'm grateful. It's all because of Mitchell's unwavering assistance. From across the screen, Joseph grinned. His self-assurance had fully returned. I gave a headshake. I wasn't really active. Joseph was lifted out of the abyss by his own strength. I'm excited to see what you accomplish. Indeed, you can rely on me. Joseph gave a forceful, passionate, and intelligent reply. I gave a satisfied nod, then noticed that Mr. Williams was looking directly at me. Sir, is there a problem? No, I was just thinking back on how accurate my assessment was. To put it plainly, Michael, I too have big hopes for you. I blushed when I heard that from my esteemed tutor and said, yes, you can count on me.